Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick back on the Star Wars Legion section of FFG's website because we have another reveal article. This is a further preview article for the ATST on the Imperial faction, which took me by surprise a bit. I wasn't expecting any sort of further articles on these as they are imminently about to release. We know, sort of based on the information we see dripping in, that the stock has reached distribution levels, at least it has here in Australia, so fingers crossed, hopefully we see a release of Star Wars Legion within the couple of next weeks. But for the time being, we have some articles to look at to sort of amp up our anticipation, amp up our hype for the game. And this is no exception. We have a lot of cool stuff revealed in this article, so let's take a look at what there is. So this is the spread for the ATST. Now, we saw it in the previous article, but this time we have all the upgrade cards revealed and we know what all these tokens do. These yellow tokens here are various fail states for the weapons, movement and activation of the craft. These red tokens here are for hit points. This is the take aim token, this is the dodge token, and this is the command token here. So now we understand what all of that does. We have seen this card before. Unfortunately, we don't have a nice high-res picture of it to look at, but here are all the stats here. I've already been through it before, so we're going to focus more on these upgrade cards, but just for the sake of it, let's take a quick look at these keywords again because they will come back up when we're looking at these cards. First of all, we have Armor. When defending, cancel all hit results. Arsenal 2 means you can attack with 2 of your weapons when you perform an attack action. And it also has Weak Point Rear. So when it's defending from an attack at the rear, the attacker gains Impact 1, which gives it an attack boost against this craft. So you want to be really careful. You want to make sure your opponent doesn't get behind it, because I think that's going to be the biggest weakness of this vehicle overall. The whole concept is it's a little bit overperforming for its points value. It's going to be amazing at long range, but as soon as it gets in close, it is going to struggle. But we're all here to look at these cards. We're all here to see these spoilers, so let's go through them now. We have the Comms Jammer and the Long Range Comlink. The Comms Jammer means that nearby enemies cannot get orders from their commander, and the Long Range Comlink means you can get orders from your commander from the other side of the battlefield no matter where you are, which is really, really good. There are a couple of really awesome utility cards. I'm glad to see that they're getting reprinted in several different packs. You don't just have to, say, buy the speeder bikes or something like that. You're going to get them in your ATSE, so you don't have to buy those other packs, which is a really good thing. We see a lot in the game of X-Wing, certain upgrade cards only printed in certain packs, which means, unfortunately, if you want a particular upgrade card, you might have to buy a ship you otherwise wouldn't want to. And it looks like, fingers crossed, early days with Legion, that will not be the case. I really hope that FFG don't do that in this game because, look, the expansion packs are just that much more expensive. It would be a real barrier of accessibility to this game that it doesn't need. So, early signs are good. It's good to see that these cards are getting printed in this pack. We also have these 3 hardpoint upgrades, which are all weapons. They've all been revealed in this article, so let's scroll down and take a look at them. First up, we have the 88 Twin Light Blaster Cannon, 20 squad point costs, ATST only hardpoint upgrade. Impact 1, while attacking a unit that has armor, change one of your regular hit results to a crit result. And fixed front, it must be fired forward. Range 1 to 3, a red, a black, and a white dice. This just seems like a great all-round weapon. It's going to be a great boost to the ATST as it is because it has Arsenal 2, meaning it can take the basic attack that's already on its card as well as this one. So if you equip an ATST with just this card, it's going to have a nice light build that feels really efficient. And I think if you want to trim down squad points on your army, this is going to be a great way of doing that. You can get an ATST on the field for a nice cheap buy-in, and it's going to feel nice and efficient. But let's have a look at the other weapons we have here. We also have the DW3 Concussion Grenade Launcher for 15 points, also hardpoint and also ATST only. Fixed to the front, and it has Blast, which means you ignore cover. This means it could be a very useful attack against ground units, but it's also worth noting it only fires range 1 to 2. 2 black dice are good, but it means you have to get in close, which to me, from what we can tell about this unit, feels like a bit of a risky thing to do. It means you're potentially going to have to open up the vulnerability of this vehicle and potentially risk getting enemy troopers behind you. On the flip side though, if you already have enemy troopers getting up close to you, this is going to be a great thing to be able to use. The whole idea with the ATST, it has Arsenal 2. It can actually boost the Arsenal factor, which I'll talk about in a tick. So long-range bombardment's going to be his strength, so your opponent may try and jump it, and this is going to be a good counter to that. Last but not least, we have the ATST Mortar launcher. That just sounds awesome. 10 points, hardpoint, ATST only once more. Fixed to the front and suppressive. After you perform an attack, the defender that this weapon was used against gains a suppression token. This is really good. It's also range 4 to infinite with 3 white dice. Now, 3 white dice isn't anything amazing, but the whole idea is the suppressive factor is going to be very, very useful. If you can use this to double suppress your opponent, as in you roll a hit from the attack and they gain a suppression token plus 1 more from the natural ability of this, it's going to make it very difficult for your opponent to get their troopers close to your ATST. So again, this is just a great utility weapon that means you can start the game at long range and keep the game at long range, which from what I can tell about the ATST is probably what you want to be doing with this vehicle. Now it's worth noting as well, this article shows that we get 1 of each of these weapons in the pack. It does not stipulate whether or not you can only use 1 of each weapon. I think that would make sense, but it is worth noting the article nor the cards tell us otherwise. So you could potentially put 3 mortars on an ATST unless we get clarification otherwise. Maybe that'll be a part of the rules that says you can only use 1 of each type of weapon on each vehicle, but it's worth keeping an eye on because I just think that there would be value in using 2 or more of each of these on the ATST. There's a great chance that I will be buying 2 ATSTs myself, for example. The ATST is one of my favorite Star Wars vehicles. When I was a kid and I saw the first Star Wars movie a couple weeks later for my birthday, my parents bought me an ATST action figure that had like a walking action, and I just enjoyed it so much. So I can tell you guys with a lot of certainty I'm going to get at least 1 of these, probably 2, and I'm going to have multiple copies of these cards, and I just want to know whether or not we can use 2 of the same kind of card on the vehicle. So we'll see what happens when the full rules get revealed. Just returning to the spread, we do have 1 more card here. And this was interesting because we previously didn't really see what this upgrade slot was correlating to. We saw it on the ATST and on the Snowspeeder. It looks like a kind of a weird little hook thing. And what happened was, a few days after those articles came out, a different language version of the FFG website, I believe it was the Spanish version, had a picture of the spread of the different vehicles, and it had one for the Snowspeeder. It also revealed a copy of this type of upgrade with wedge antilles on the front, which says it is a crew member or a pilot, sort of either and or, and that's what this is correlating to. So if we scroll down to the revealed card from this article, we see here General Wise or Wheeze. I'm not actually sure. If any of you guys are super into the EU and know how to pronounce this guy's names, please tell me. But basically, this guy is a pilot, I guess you'd say. And now that we have a nice high-res picture of these cards, we can see that that's clearly a joystick. So that makes perfect sense. Imperial only, ground vehicle only, worth 10 points. And as an action, until the end of your activation, you gain Arsenal 2. While attacking, each of your minis can use up to 2 weapons. Now, it's important to note that the article did state that when you use this card in conjunction with the ATST, you actually gain a further Arsenal 2. It doesn't just mean you replace whatever text you have with Arsenal 2. It does stack. Arsenal 2, you use General Wheeze, and you get Arsenal 4, which means you can attack with up to 4 different weapons. And this is the main reason why I want to know whether we can use more of the same kind of weapon. I feel like what we had revealed was 1 good basic weapon and 2 sort of utility weapons. So I'd like to know if I could use multiple copies of that basic weapon and just have a good sort of 4 of attack with that same weapon, and just basically eliminate your opponent's squads very efficiently without having to rely on long-range bombardment or ignoring cover, that kind of stuff. Just good basic solid stats, and I want to know if that's possible. It's also worth noting on this card that we do have that little right angle arrow picture, which means that this card must be spent. Which means you can't just do this over again, turn after turn after turn. You need to use the recover action to unspend him in order to use him again. Which is probably a good thing. Arsenal 2 strikes me as something that's going to be very potent. Obviously, this is the only vehicle so far that can take him, but we're probably going to have things like, say, Imperial tanks that could take this guy. And the potential this guy has of stacking on weapons on different vehicles could get quite out of hand. So there does seem to be a bit of a nice cost involved here, where A, you must use an action to gain this advantage, and B, you must use the recover action to untap him and use him again. And there we have it. That is the entire ATST pack revealed. I am so hyped for this vehicle. I cannot wait to play with it. We'll be interested to see what articles FFG release in the coming weeks before the release. We still have not seen the supplementary Rebel Commander yet, assuming that there will be one in Wave 1. We know that the Imperials so far have Vader in the core set and General Veers in a separate pack, where the Rebels only have Luke Skywalker in the core set and nothing else revealed as a second commander. So don't quite know what's going on there. Hopefully the Rebels will get their second commander revealed sometime soon. We'll see how that goes. I'm really not following the sort of the pattern FFG are doing here, but at the very least we are getting articles, we are getting rules clarifications, and we are getting things revealed, and I am super hyped, and I'm guessing that you guys are too. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, like our Facebook page, and we will catch you later.